AEO means answer engine optimization. And I happen to own AEO.co, and I spent many thousands of dollars. ChatGPT and Perplexity especially are just searching Google better than you do. All these SEOs are saying AEO is the same thing as SEO. It's the same mechanism, just a different window. No, it's not.
Yo, it's Frankie Finn. Beach mode engaged. Looms loaded, AI's humming. Let's go!
Holy shit, you gangster motherfuckers. You guys are in for a treat. Last time, by the way, we did one of these with Kasim Aslam here, and we did something on his whole hiring formula. And you guys like melted in your panties of about like how much deep wisdom he had on the subject of finding cool people. Well, we're about to blow your fucking heads off because he was just showing me some things. And I don't think anybody's worked harder to figure out this. One question is, how the hell are AI tools like referencing websites and search? In other words, like, how do you get your own client stuff in the damn AI algorithms the same way we've done for Google? Because I've had this conversation, Cosm, and I'm sure you have, that I'm using Google less and less. And other than really local, I don't really have a lot of practical use for it. And as you mentioned, even local, a lot of times Gemini is giving you the answer without actually going to a website. And you have some pretty out there stuff that you've been working to reverse engineer. How do they actually decide on this? Anyways, I don't know if there's anything you want to add besides that. You're a cool dude and you build cool agencies, and now we're doing some cool shit.
That's great. I have a favor to ask, Frankie. Can I start with an ask?
Yeah, let's do it.
So the whole world is about to rush into this new endeavor. They don't realize it, but the whole world is going to start asking themselves, how do I get ChatGPT to mention me? How do I get Perplexity to mention me? How do I get Gemini to mention me? And we don't have yet a definitive term. Some people call it GEO, which is generative engine optimization. That's stupid.
Yeah.
Some people call it AI SEO, which is stupid because that might mean AI driven SEO or who knows what.
Yeah.
Uh, I think we should call it AEO. I think that for a bunch of reasons. AEO means answer engine optimization. And I happen to own AEO.co, and I spent many thousands of dollars
There you go.
buying it. So if you and your community can help me cement the idea that we're going to call this AEO, it would, number one, bring a lot of clarity, I think, to the discussion. And number two, help me with my brand authority because I've already planted a flag in the AEO world and I don't want to have to go change things up.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, by the way, because it's not really SEO. Like,
It's
I
not
know that
SEO at
helps
all.
people bridge the gap, but what we're really trying to do is answer, like you said, the fundamental question. How do I get ChatGPT to mention me? How do I get Perplexity to me? How do I get Gemini? How do I get Claude to talk about my shit and my client shit, right? Like, that's what we really want in that scenario. I wonder if you'd be open to just starting here. You had some like deep research you were doing. When I say deep research, I don't mean the ChatGPT term deep research, but you've been doing what I call like, let's reverse engineer these algorithms and how they actually work. And you got spreadsheets and spreadsheets for days on this stuff. I wonder if you'd be cool with sharing that with our folks.
Happy to. So I've got 5 employees, full-time FTEs, my people. 4 of them in Pakistan, one of them is in Colombia, Bogota. Shout out to Julian who runs the team. Um, they've done nothing for almost a year. It's 10 months. They've done nothing but every single day try to reverse engineer how LLM source their citations, which sounds nerdier than it is. It's just looking at why does ChatGPT give me the answer it's giving me? And I've got a little spreadsheet here that I'm going to share. So if you're listening, I'll do my best to describe it. If you're watching, you'll get a little bit more out of this talk. What you're looking at is the document that we use to track our research. And every employee does 20 queries a day. And the queries are split up categorically. So we have a category for local brick and mortar, we have a category for SaaS, we have a category for ecom, we have a category for health, info, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we're looking at a local brick and mortar category. And the research was done on June 11th by Mateen, who's a member of our team. And query number one is best boutique coffee shop in Kingman, Arizona. Now, there's some strategy to this query. It's high commercial intent. So high commercial intent would mean things like phrases like best, top, most
Yeah.
flavorful,
They're going to
highest, et
spend
cetera, et
money.
cetera.
They're not asking just for the
They're going
good
to spend
stuff.
money. That's exactly right. It's high commercial intent. It's also specific. We're not looking for a coffee shop. We're looking for a boutique coffee shop. The reason you want that is because it lifts you out of over contextualized search results. It puts you in a position of having the LLM actually have to do research and think.
Right.
And then, of course, we've got the geotag, Kingman, Arizona. You'll notice that I'm not using Manhattan, Phoenix, Austin. I'm not using cities that the data is so overwhelming it would be difficult to distill decision-making prowess.
Right.
We're trying to use, and this is true even beyond local brick and mortar. We're trying to use categories that have fewer options so we can see a true comparative analysis.
Yeah.
So that and all the statisticians who are listening, I understand this is lag indication and confirmation bias and all those things, but it's all we have to go off of. So looking at these queries,
Yeah, can I just say as a
Mateen,
little aside, I mentioned this off air, but like I used to do this back, 10, 12 years ago when I was trying to reverse engineer Google, and nothing made us better at it than looking at what Google was doing in real time. You had mentioned an old name, Matt Cutts, who was basically Google's department of don't. He would tell you don't do this and don't do that, and basically tell you all the things you should be doing for SEO. And the more we just looked at like how is Google actually ranking now and ignore all the opinions and try and get as much data on it, the better we were at it. The more we listened to this expert and that expert and all the opinions, the harder it was to discern. And so like to me, what I love here is that you're looking at real data and trying to discern from as many data points as you can rather than let's ask 45 experts and get 45 different opinions.
I appreciate that, man. And I had the exact same experience when I played the SEO game. If you follow, you lose. If you lead, you win, you just do it poorly because you're going to stumble. You make 10 assumptions and half of them are wrong, but the half that are right end up being huge needle movers.
Yeah.
So here's the assumptions that we've made. I asked ChatGPT one of these questions. So here's Mateen asking ChatGPT, what's the best boutique coffee shop in Kingman, Arizona? And he doesn't just ask ChatGPT, he asks ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Gemini. And that's one query. Query number 2 is where to find specialty coffee in Kingman, Arizona. Query number 3 is top rated artisan coffee in Kingman, Arizona, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we do this 20 times by there. There's 20 total queries every single day. I have tens of millions of data points on this to support what it is that I'm about to share with you. Once we get a response from ChatGPT, the response is obviously important, but more important are the citations used to generate that response, which all of the LLMs to date give you for the most part. So in this particular instance, ChatGPT gave me 5 citations. It gave me an answer, and then it said, here's what we used to come up with the answer. The first citation is mudon66.com. The second one is TripAdvisor. The third one is MapQuest, which I haven't heard that in 15
Yeah.
years. TripAdvisor again for number 4 and Yelp for number 5. Now, we take every single one of those citations. Here's where this work gets insanely granular and tedious. And we do the usual suspect audit, meaning what are the things about this URL that would make ChatGPT think that it's valuable? Keyword matching, domain rating, D8 authority, Hrefs rank, organic keywords, domain traffic, backlinks, page speed, schema validator, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Quite literally, dozens of data points per domain, dozens of domains potentially per result, massive amounts of data on this. And we've been doing this for 10 months. We also categorize the domains. We look to see if there's a brand mention in the query. And here's what we found. 2 things that are, I think, extraordinarily important just from this page. Guess what the single most powerful key performance indicator for LLM citation is?
I don't know, but I just wanted to say, like you said something off air that I think is important for the branding part of it, which is you said answer engine optimization, not SEO. And you said something that Gemini is not actually using Google rankings, which is a surprise. They're not using their own algorithm to say, well, this is our number 1 ranked website, so we're going to use it as our number 1 AI reference. But anyway, sorry, I'm a little off tangent, but please tell us.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm gonna come back to that actually because that's the second. You let my cat out of the bag, Frankie. That's my second uh, big finding on this sheet. The single most important key performance indicator for LLM ranking, and we can't even use the word ranking. You don't rank in an LLM because LLMs don't, generally speaking, as a rule, in a new paradigm, it's not about hierarchical results. It's about the answer.
Yeah.
So we should probably come up with a better word together. But because we're old guys that use SEO, we can use the word ranking for now. The single most important key performance indicator for ranking inside of an LLM is schema markup,
Sorry.
which is, dude, it blows my mind. I didn't know what the frick schema was. I remember having to deal with schema when I built websites 20 years ago, but I had to go look at but schema markup is to AEO what backlinks are to SEO. which is interesting because it puts us in a position of being in like 2004 SEO territory where you can just keyword stuff and rank. Schema markup, and it makes a lot of sense. An LLM is it's a robot pretending to be a person, and schema is what tells the robot what's actually on the website.
Yeah.
So if you have clean schema and your schema interlinks with other web properties, so you have like an ecosystem, those are the websites that LLMs rely on. So that's finding number one. Finding number two, you already mentioned, we went and we looked at the position of the rank inside of the citations that the LLM produces, and we looked at that same link in Google and Bing to see how much overlap there is. With ChatGPT, there's a 50% over, statistically speaking, across all of the data that we have, there's about a 50% overlap with Google. With Perplexity, there's a 70% overlap with Google. With Gemini, and dude, this blows my mind. With Gemini, there's zero. Here's query number two. ChatGPT, 50%. Look at that. Perplexity, 100% of their citations show up on Google in a different order, but still massive overlap. Gemini, zero overlap. Here's query number three. ChatGPT, overlap. Perplexity, overlap. Gemini, zero overlap. Here's query number four. Again, query number five. Again, query number six. Again, query number seven. Again, query number eight. Again. Gemini has zero overlap with Google. Now, what does this mean and why is this important? First of all, if you're in the SEO world, this should blow your freaking mind because Google is not using Google's own knowledge graph. Or excuse me, Google's not using Google's own search graph. Google is not using Google. Google is building its AI's knowledge graph from the ground up, which is why it sucks right now. Because if you use ChatGPT and you use Grok and you use Perplexity and you use Claude and then you use Gemini, everybody says the same thing. Oh, Gemini is not as good. What they don't realize is ChatGPT is farming Google's very mature forest and coming back with the Google result for you just faster. ChatGPT and Perplexity especially are just searching Google better than you do, which means they're built on Google's house of cards. So when you use ChatGPT or Perplexity, you're getting a mature result because they're using Google Search Graph. When you use Gemini, you don't see a mature tree, you see a sapling. So you look at Perplexity's mature tree and you think like, oh, that's a way better result than Google's sapling. But wait, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Google is the only company on the planet, with the exception of Amazon, but because of the terms of service tied to AWS, I don't think they can actually pull this off. Google is the only company on the planet with the data to actually produce, to grow their own knowledge graph.
Yeah.
ChatGPT can't do it. Perplexity can't do it. They're relying on Google's data. So they're building their entire infrastructure is built on something Google is in full control of and looks to be deprecating.
Yeah. Can I just say as a little aside that Google is the biggest data company in the world? Like a lot of you guys think you're looking at SEO and ads and things like that, but like how they actually make their money is they own and control the data. So to your point, like they're the ones who can actually like turn data into something useful. But I mean, to me, when you say that, the fact that they're not using their own search results is pretty fascinating, and there's not 100% correlation. I can definitely see a scenario when the cat gets out of the bag that we go back to 2004 keyword stuffing again, and there's a cat and mouse game of how do I keep the keyword stuffing, sites out of, our recommended results. But, that's a game that never ends, just so you know. It's like people trying to hack the system rather than just win the game long term and actually be the best result.
Yeah. So there's, if you don't mind, a couple of other findings that we've had that really start to blow my mind. Guess what the most cited website is across all LLMs?
No idea, but I'm sure it is going to blow our mind.
It's going to piss you off.
Just don't say it's MapQuest, and I'm okay with it.
Ha! Dude, it's Reddit.
Really?
Reddit is the most important website on the internet. Here's what's really interesting about it is Reddit across 10,000 queries was cited 20% of the time. Across 10,000 Gemini queries, Reddit was cited 20% of the time. Here's why this is even more interesting is, let me pull it up. I've got slides on this. I'm going to play Death by PowerPoint. So if you're watching, you'll get a little more out of this. If you're listening, I'll do my best to describe it again. The most cited website on the internet is Reddit. This is a study by Profound, which did 10 million, studied 10 million citations in Google's AI overviews. And it found that Reddit was cited 21% of the time and YouTube was cited 19% of the time. So this is insane. Google owns YouTube. Google does not own Reddit. And yet Google cites Reddit more than YouTube. And remember, please, that Reddit is a third, not a third. Reddit is 1.7 billion average monthly searches, and Google has 33 billion. So what is that? 15 times the size? Am I doing my math? I went to public school, dude. Hold on. 33 divided by 1.7, 19. YouTube is 19 times the size of Reddit. 19 times, and yet Reddit exceeds YouTube citations by 2%. Blows my mind. And it also means that it's not that Reddit's powerful. It's that hierarchically structured user-generated content. And if you really think about it, it's like, obviously, the machines are trying to figure out what people like. So what are they going to do? They're going to go look at the networks that allow you to see real people, because Reddit is vicious about killing bot profiles, and real people with what? Karma. So the real people, your opinion and my opinion are not worth the same if you're a PhD college professor that actually knows nutrition and I'm some dipshit armchair, evangelist that doesn't know a damn thing, and you inside of the Reddit ecosystem have earned the karma to tell the LLM that not only is his answer better, but he's better as a person along this specific level of analysis. That's what LLMs want and need. So I can prove with data, the way we used to ask for backlinks in SEO, we're going to be asking for mentions. So if a mom jumps onto a TikTok video and says in the comments, Joe Dispenza's education helped my child's autism, that's worth what the old guest blog used to be worth to an LLM.
Yeah.
Especially if the mom ranks high, technically speaking, from whatever social demographic perspective the LLM is using. And so to add much, much, much more complexity, we used to think that Google has contextualized search results, and it did kind of. Search results changed a little bit depending who you are. You're a man or a woman, you're a Republican, you're a Democrat, you're gay, you're straight, you're whatever, you're old, you're young, and your search results changed a little bit based off of who you were demographically and psychographically. LLMs, dude, massive, massive contextualization. You get entirely different results, which is actually terrifying because it's an echo chamber built into the
Yeah, I
system.
was going to say, everybody's in their own little echo chamber now.
That's exactly right. If you're pro-vax and I'm anti-vax, and we start asking the LLMs questions about health, you're going to get a bunch of pro-vax shit, and I'm going to get a bunch of anti-vax shit, and we're both going to be so right, and we're going to have the experts to cite our rightness, and we're just going to further cement our opinions and our beliefs, which is interesting because it changes again. It's not the SEO paradigm used to be I need to rank number one for this phrase. We're not going to be ranking for phrases. We're going to be ranking for people. So now, if you're alt-right type, alternative crunchy granola, you want to rank not for the phrase, what should I eat? You want to rank for the person who's alt-right crunchy granola leaning for what should I eat? It's a three-dimensional layer of analysis.
Yeah.
It makes the reporting and the tracking so different and so difficult
Yeah.
and more interesting.
Yeah, in many ways, it's probably meaningless. We're probably going to have to go back to the old school. Like, would you just mention where you found us and we'll give you a special ChatGPT discount?
Oh, bro, there's no reporting. I mean, there's no API that lets you see that you're ranking inside of Perplexity. The closest that we've gotten so far is just lag indications like UTM tracking from citation follow through, but 1 in 1,000 people clicks on citations. At best, 1 in 100, but no more than 1% of people follow through on citations on any given query. So you're not going to know you're being cited until you've reached a volume that's pretty significant, which is interesting. It makes it it's a difficult service to offer. I haven't cracked the code. I'm not offering this as a service. I own a community. I own the largest AEO community. Just school.com/AEO for anybody who wants to join. And I don't know how to sell it
for you guys.
Yeah. Thanks, Frankie. Thanks for helping me pimp it out. I'll make you an affiliate, dude.
Woohoo.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, I actually need your help. I need people's help. I know what levers and knobs to pull and to turn in theory to increase the likelihood, to increase alignment with the algorithm. But I don't know how to sell this. I don't know how to fulfill on it per se. I don't know how to report on it. Like, it's so new. It feels almost impossible to guess at where this is going to lean,
Yeah, I definitely see. I was actually talking to Rand Fishkin about this related to even just SEO itself over the last 5 years. there has been a phenomenon of the click list conversion. So you're standing in the grocery store, you're trying to buy rice, you're trying to make risotto, and you don't know which kind of rice to buy. You Google which kind of rice, it tells you arboreal rice. You didn't click any website. You weren't even a traffic pixel, and yet you were a real life conversion, right? And so I see with AI, this is going to get even more convoluted for how do you track it. But nonetheless, for people who understand how to do it and are ahead of the curve, and know things like, for example, right now, at least where it's at today at the time of recording, is like how to structure your schema and markup so that you're found for the things you want to be found for. It's going to be immensely valuable for businesses. And I see this as one of those things that we're probably still 2 to 5 years ahead of most. Like I actually spoke, this wasn't like recently, but 12 months ago, I was at a conference for water damage restoration contractors. And they brought me in as the AI guy. And I said at the start of it, I was with John Marenko. I said at the start of it, how many of you guys here like know what ChatGPT is? And only like 10% of the hands in the room went up. And I was like, okay, hold on a second. Are you guys not putting your hands up because you just like, speakers always make you put your hands up and you're kind of lazy and don't want to do it? Or do you really not know what the fuck this is? And most of them were like, I have no idea what the fuck this thing is. And I said, how many of you guys like actually use it every day? And there were less than 5 hands up. And I actually remember the next line out of my mouth was unprepared. But I said, okay, get ready and strap yourselves in because you're about to have your fucking heads blown off of what's possible right here. If this is the first time you've seen this thing, I'm going to blow your mind with what's possible. But for something like this, like as more and more people get into it, that question is just going to come up more and more. How do I get my business found in ChatGPT? How do I get my business found in Perplexity? And you're right, I wouldn't know how to create a service around that either. Hold on a sec. That's called movie drama, and it's real. So I don't know if you had any thoughts you wanted to add on that, but let's talk about your community for folks who are interested in like at least getting ahead of the curve on this.
We've got 100 members so far. It's $300 a month. I've priced it in a way that would inhibit people who don't have the necessary firepower to follow our instructions. So it's really meant for agencies. Like an agency, $300 a month to learn a new line of service makes all the sense in the world. What I can't have is Ma and Pa Kettle in there being like, what is schema? You know what I mean? Like they're not going to get anything out of the damn thing. And so what I should tell everybody is don't join unless you plan on doing a lot of work. Because it's a significant amount of work. And if you want access to my data and you want access to everything that we're finding, I think it's a deal. Really what I'm doing, Frankie, is I launched the community because I don't know how to offer the service. So it's an open air Trojan horse. I'm putting a bunch of people in the room saying, hey, look what we're learning. I'm setting them loose to go execute on it with the expectation that they come back and teach me what they did and what worked. Yeah. And on a long enough timeline, symbiotic system that I'm at the top of, I now know how to do AEO. Yeah. So I anticipate this taking a long time. We're on a journey. We're a couple of years ahead of the curve, really. Yeah. And just like with Google, the algorithms are going to change. And unlike Google, and to be honest with you, unlike search in general, there was always a number one for search engines. Always. AOL was the number one search engine until it wasn't. And then it was Excite until it wasn't. And then it was Lycos until it wasn't. And then it was Ask until it was. You know what I mean? There was never really.
Guy, but I got you.
You know what I mean? But when Alta Vista was the thing, it was Alta Vista. When Yahoo was the thing, it was Yahoo. Yeah. There was just the one search engine that everybody was using at that particular time. And maybe at some point in time, somebody could snapshot and be like, no, Kasim, look, it was 2. Well, fine. We're looking at, I don't know what, dude, 5 major LLMs with no real clear market share. And so much cross-pollination and disparate uses and more coming. And so it's just anybody, all these I see on LinkedIn and Reddit because I troll the forums. All these SEOs are saying AEO is the same thing as SEO. It's the same mechanism, just a different window. No, it's not. SEO is link dependent. AEO is schema dependent. SEO requires a significant amount of adherence to content policies that AEO not only doesn't use, but actually deprecates. No. SEO is about a website. AEO is about your presence. Here's what's really crazy, dude. SEO wants to prioritize brands. You know what AEO prioritizes is people. So an SEO, let's say you search for something and New York Times comes up. New York Times comes up because the New York Times has a well-optimized website. In AEO, if you search for something and New York Times comes up as a citation, the New York Times would come up as a citation because they cited Scott Galloway. And AEO happens to know Scott Galloway as a person, as an authority in that space. It's an entirely different paradigm shift. It's an entirely different way of looking at things. And it's very inconvenient. I can tell you as a business owner, dude, I own techstack.com, AEO.co, ParetoTalent.com, DrivenMastermind.com, NeedleMarketing.com. I've got a portfolio of 17 businesses. I can't afford a world, a digital ecosystem where it says, hey, you got to be good at one thing. And yet here we are. You have to pick one thing or you dilute your efficacy, right? So AEO wants people who say, I am a world authority in seed oils, Dr. Kate Shanahan, right? Or I am a world authority in agency growth, Frankie Finn. Like you have to pick a pillar because without doing that, you lose the opportunity to be seen in the way that you would want to be seen through this particular lens.
Yeah, totally. I think we should probably call it a show there and put some links to your folks for the community, because I actually don't even know where to go with that from here. I mean, this is all kind of, to me, you're super on point. It's super interesting, but like you said, a lot of this is going to be who's going to be the first person to figure out what to do with this. I remember, just talking about that transition, but there's a time growing up where we looked up businesses in the yellow pages, and if you had I can actually remember sitting in a meeting with a lawyer who said the best ad I ever ran is I was the first person to take out an ad in the yellow pages, and it just said experienced lawyer. It was a full page ad. He said, I never had so many phone calls in my life as when I had a full page ad and everybody else had a teeny tiny little font. And then eventually, as you mentioned, like Alta Vista and various search engines and things like that took over. And then a whole world called SEO was born. But in those early stages of SEO, like a lot of us didn't even know what to call it, didn't know what we're doing. It was a lot of like, I'll give you a link, you give me a link, and if I link to my website, and I'll put a page where you can link to yours, and is it okay if we like that was the beginning and genesis of SEO. And I think we're stepping into clearly like a new frontier like that, where yeah, we can reverse engineer what's happening, but like, what do you do with that, and how do you turn it into a playbook so that your clients can actually profit from it, and ultimately you as well, so that when somebody goes to ChatGPT and says, I'm looking for a coffee shop around here, that it's your client that is actually getting recommended in there strategically because you've set it up to do that. So I don't know if you have any closing thoughts on that, but I just kind of wanted to share that. It's like, this is to me like, this is as big of a change as we used to do it with the yellow pages. Now we do it with Google, and in the first 6 months, nobody knows how to do SEO.
Yeah, right now the answer to the businesses is content is king again, and that hasn't been true. SEO actually killed the content is king narrative because of link building. SEO was just link building, dude. That's the reason the Hoth and SEO.co and PosiRank exist. You just bought links and you ranked.
Yeah.
Content is king again, but at this time the content needs to be multimodal. You can't just produce one piece of content and throw it online and say I did it. You need to have, the YouTube video and the Instagram reel and the Twitter thread and the Pinterest infographic and the blog. And that triangulation of information towards a specific endeavor, that's the one thing we all know how to do that you can do right now that will never not benefit you. So for everything else that I talked about, schema markup and all that other garbage, I'll crack the code on that and I'll share it with everybody. But if you want to know what I do right now today, do what Frankie's doing. Go start a podcast, do long form content, do video and audio, and then take that video and atomize it, cut it up, like turn it into reels and infographics and TikToks and blogs and newsletters and podcasts and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the thing that we see moving the needle most with LLMs from a content perspective, is making sure you have multimodal content.
Yeah. Can I just say on that, I've met so many people who, it drives me crazy, by the way, agency owners, you guys don't have fucking content, you don't have lists, and you call yourself marketers.
Bro.
But that's a story for another day. But I will tell you that the number one reason people don't do what you just described is because they don't understand it's a compound effect. And so I see it all the time where they like publish something for 30 days and then like nobody knows who I am, nobody reached out, I'm not a millionaire, and they immediately take their foot off the gas and conclude it's not working. And there's real definite stages you go through, where first stage is nobody cares, not the algorithm, not your mom, not even Kasim Aslam will like your shit, even though we're friends and all that. And eventually you reach a stage where you start getting a little bit of momentum and you can actually see some sort of something coming through the other end, but it usually doesn't feel like it's worth it. And if you stick with it long enough, which is usually like for most people I know who are successful with it, it's usually like 12 months. But what happens at the end of 12 months is you reach what I call unstoppable momentum. Like, so for me personally, and for you, like we've got thousands of videos out there on the internet. If I never made another video again, there would still be people reaching out to me tomorrow, and opportunities would still find me because there's just so much digital me and so much digital Kasim out there just working overtime. So I wanted to just share that with you guys because, man, nothing is sadder to me when I see you guys start content and then give up too soon because you have these unrealistic expectations that you're going to be an overnight miracle worker. But it's also not like, it's not a 25-year journey either. It's like, just commit yourself to it for 12 months. And even when you get discouraged, just like exercise, when it doesn't feel like you're losing weight or you don't feel any better, like get up and go fucking do the thing. And I promise you, it's almost like a football field where, you know, you're continuously moving the ball forwards, but you don't really get points until the end. So it's like, you don't see that, hey, I just moved a complete stranger up 60 yards up the field because nobody pays you for 60 yards. But you're actually moving people towards the end zone continuously with it. And it's really that multi-touch, multimedia. Um, you know, something I learned from the top attorneys that they were all omnipresent. They were the biggest spender on TV, biggest spender on billboards, biggest spender on radio. They ran the most Facebook ads. They really did everything to be the established authority. And that's really the place you guys want to be in your own little niche pond where you don't have to, you know, be competing with 12,000 people. Anyways, I'm probably getting off on a rant, but let's put some links to Kasim's community because there's going to be some awesome shit in there.
Buy my book or I will put glitter in your socks. Every single pair.